Editor's note. So this podcast does not the best audio quality, and I apologize for that. James had something in the background playing, and it was a little bit distracting, and it was a little bit off. And I try to correct it here and there, but it's just part of his audio. And whenever I try to correct it, it makes the quality of the vocals worse. So I did what I could, but it may sound a little bit artificial. I'm just trying to keep it as good as I can without making, too many edits. So it's just unfortunately how it happened. So I just want to give everyone a heads up before we get started about the audio quality being less than stellar in this episode.
Warning, this podcast contains spoilers. Warning, this podcast contains spoilers.
Let's go watch it in 2D. No, let's go watch it in 3D. But if we watch it in 3D, then is it worth the cost?
Rodan, Ghidorah, Mothra.
Oh my.
They're everywhere.
It's comforting.
Our planet will perish.
Hang on, kid!
And so will we. Unless we set Godzilla free.
This time we join him. That's messed up. Good thing he's on our side. Beautiful. Here we go. This is Godzilla's world. We just live in it. Damn right.
Godzilla, rated PG-13.
Hello, this is Adolph. I have with me Jake.
Howdy.
And James.
Hello.
And we are doing the Godzilla King of the Monsters spoilerific review. So if you haven't seen the movie, pause it and come back and watch it. If you don't care about spoilers, continue on. This is your warning.
The warning.
Warning, this podcast contains spoilers. Warning, this podcast contains spoilers.
So James, what are your thoughts on Godzilla King of the Monsters?
Okay, well, without any spoilers, just a quick summary. I think that this one's an improvement over the other one, like the one released in 2014. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Yeah, we all seen it.
Okay. I think in a lot of ways this is a step in the right direction. But as we'll discuss, it does. There are some things that they need to work on.
All right, what would you give it?
I honestly, I think a 7 out of 10 is fair.
That's exactly what me and Jake gave it.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's. I would say the last movie was maybe a 5 or 6. It's a 7. So certainly, I do think we'll get into the film in a moment, but I think one thing this film does really well on is it really does answer the criticism of not enough Godzilla. Like, I do feel that there was enough of him on the screen, and I do think that they also, the filmmakers were able to kind of divide up the time that all the kaiju get, so you feel like, no one's really misused, I guess, even though there are, like, a lot of kaiju in the film.
Yeah. I do feel like they get enough action, enough fights. So, James, do you want to go over the plot, over how things go?
Yes. Okay, so this film picks up kind of where the last film left off. And what they do is they kind of do a Batman versus Superman thing where, like, the film starts at the very, like, end of the last film. Kind of, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, where they have a perspective from another character and the other character we didn't know about before.
Yeah, exactly. And then, then that's kind of how the main characters roped into movie. And one thing that's interesting is about the main character who, human characters, I always forget their names because honestly, human characters aren't the reason why I watch the movies. But, the main character, he, one thing that's interesting about him is that he, studies animals and studies, packs and things. And so one thing that's interesting and pretty cool that they actually do with the film is he's able to use his skill to kind of, try and figure out what the kaiju are doing. And, sometimes that feels a little bit contrived, but because it's well, how would you know about these, ancient creatures that they're going to act exactly like normal animals? But that's pretty cool. So basically what happens is, they work for a organization called Monarch, which is basically the monster universe equivalent to S.H.I.E.L.D. That's the best way to describe it. S.H.I.E.L.D. in Marvel's the defense agency against aliens. Well, this is the defense / support group for kaiju. And basically what happens is that they're all looking for Godzilla because he's been missing for a long time. And what happens is that there's, of course, villains, right? And the villains, for some reason, want to awaken Ghidorah. And so they basically go to Antarctica and they blow. I don't know how they knew blowing up the place would wake up the dragon, but it does. So, they set some mines there, blows up the ice, and of course King Ghidorah flies out. And Godzilla happens to show up really quickly, which kind of weird. I mean, they do explain how, he uses currents to travel super fast between the different continents, which, I mean, kind of crazy, but whatever. He shows up really fast. He has a fight in the snow with King Ghidorah, and then King Ghidorah flies away. And one thing that I kind of like is that about this film is it's not just there's not just one big fight at the end. There's sort of it's spaced out. So he'll fight him one time in the snow, and then one time in the ocean, and then a final time in the big city, in the ruins of I think LA or something. So yeah, what'd you guys think about it?
All right, let me get some character names out here. So Kyle Chandler plays Mark Russell. We got Vera Farmiga as Dr. Emma Russell. Their daughter, Millie Bobby Brown, is Madison Russell. And the villain is Charles Dance, a.k.a. Alan Jonah. So Alan Jonah wants to unleash all the monsters in the world because he wants to, screw humanity and fix the environment. And Dr. Emma has this machine to help communicate with Mothra, and it makes it's like a universal translator from Star Trek, but it signifies who the alpha is, so that way they listen to it. And Emma starts working with the villain, which is Alan Jonah, and Mark Russell is against Emma, his ex-wife, working with them, but Madison's there with them.
Yeah.
And then we get the fight, like you said, and the government is no, we have to kill Godzilla. So basically, they nuke Godzilla in the ocean, which kills Godzilla, or at least dramatically hurts it. I missing anything, Jake?
No. Yeah, and he pretty much, and Godzilla pretty much swims off to his atomic bachelor pad in the center of the Earth, which reminded me a whole lot of Zootopia from the old Showa series episode movie, Godzilla versus was it is it Megaton? That's the one that they're fighting on the World Trade Center buildings.
Yeah, I actually, just for a side note, one thing that I like to say about this film is, I really like the world building they have in like for the MonsterVerse in this film, because like a lot, because okay, in the original, Japanese film, where kaiju come from, what their purpose is, and things are kind of like, you know how the movies are always like loosely connected, and so sometimes like they change. You know, Mothra is pretty consistent about where she comes from, but like Godzilla and all the others are kind of like you make it up as you go along. But one thing I liked about this film is that they kind of like clearly stated, okay, well these beings who they call the Titans in this film, they don't call them kaiju for some reason. I guess because it's like an American thing, but yeah, they call them the Titans. They existed like long before time began, and they were explained as like the original gods that people worship. And the way that they explain it is like, okay, so the reason why humans can create a signal or whatever to communicate with the kaiju is because humans are now the alpha, so to say, of the planet Earth. And while that is some people say that's kind of corny, I kind of like that, because it's like, it is true. Humans basically have dominated the world, and just because we're not the size of Godzilla, that you know what I mean?
Yeah. We are the dominant species on the planet. Yeah.
So I like that. I like the fact that another thing too is I like how Godzilla is portrayed in this film series, because it's closer to the way he is in some of the Japanese films, where he's more like the protector of Earth than he is just a destructive atomic force that's like an allegory for the tragedy of nuclear waste or whatever. I like that, and I know that that's how Godzilla started out. That's what the first film implied, but I much rather like the hero Godzilla more. I think there's more to it, and I'm glad that they went for that. Another thing too that I like is the whole lore about King Ghidorah, and yeah, that's pretty cool. I like the fact that the twist is that the bad guys think, okay, by reawakening King Ghidorah, we're gonna set the order back. But actually, King Ghidorah is an alien, and actually, he's evil. And he doesn't come from planet Earth. He just wants to destroy it. So I think that was a kind of a cool twist, that he's not from here.
Yeah, I agree. Jake?
It's a cool, like, you really don't see that coming. It's like, you just think, oh well, all these monsters come from Earth or whatever, because a reminder, up until this point, all the kaiju that we've seen are earthbound kaiju, and so this is basically implying aliens and stuff, which has been a big part of the Japanese film, but not the American one.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen most of the kaiju from the Japanese Godzilla films come from space, so which I like a lot more actually than they're from here, because that's a huge creature. Where is it hiding?
Yeah, exactly.
Another thing too that I do like, and you could claim that it's a cash grab or whatever. They're just doing it to make money, like Sony was, but I do like the fact that they casually reference Kong and stuff. I think that's cool. Although I will say, I did find it kind of weird um, how Skull Island, like they didn't cut to Skull Island ever, because like this is affecting all these different kaiju. It would have been cool to, in the film, it's like, either Godzilla or King Ghidorah, who is ever in control, they like emit these waves or whatever, and they cause the kaiju to like either flip out or be more docile. And I thought it would have been cool to show like maybe King Kong wasn't affected by it or something. I don't know. Maybe that would have been cool.
Yeah, I had the feeling they were saving stuff. There was stuff they wanted to put in this movie, but they're saving it for King Kong versus is it this time? No, it's Godzilla versus King Kong this time.
Yeah. So, here's the interesting thing about the film. I will say that it doesn't necessarily have and correct me if you believe this is wrong, but at least for me, I don't believe that it had a proper 3-act structure, in the sense of really the entire film is these humans chasing the kaiju wherever they go, and because of that, a lot of people, a lot of critics were saying, oh, well, there's too much kaiju in the film. There's too much monsters. There's too much fighting. There's not enough. And, I counter and say, read the title of the film. I mean, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Like, are you really going to complain when that's the film that they give you? So,
if anything, if there was anything, I really thought the Russell family could have been completely excised from this movie, and it not only would have not hurt it, probably would have improved it.
Actually, yeah, I will say that too, because it sort of has in Jurassic World, the quality with the family and the divorce. Or whatever. Why the heck? Why do we need this? I don't.
Yeah, exactly. Because I even said on my review that I thought they were acting like they were in a different movie.
Yeah, it's like Awakening King Ghidorah won't bring him back. I'm like, oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, and there were also a lot of things these characters did that the scientists should have done, but the only reason they had the muscles to do them is because, we've got this family we have to shove in here somehow, even though they don't belong.
James, what do you think of the environmental message?
I kind of liked it. I kind of like the whole. Are you talking about the environmental,
the eco-terrorists?
As in that they want to restart I think that's kind of cool. Honestly, it's like if they're gonna push an environmental message, might as well it be about resurrecting monsters to destroy the world. Kind of badass. But I do kind of like how they were bamboozled because the eco-terrorists didn't know that King Ghidorah wasn't from Earth. So that was cool.
All right, James, what do you think of the fight scenes?
I really like the the final battle. I think that's the best. So I will give the criticism that unfortunately all the fight scenes take place in the dark. None of them take place in the day, which I didn't really like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're all dark. They're all rainy. They're all ugly looking.
Yeah. Everything was hideous. Why can't I just see the monsters in the daylight? The Japanese movies did a really good job of having day and night scenes, but they were always extremely visible. You know what I mean? Even in the nighttime, you could see everything. It wasn't a problem. And, I keep making comparisons because really what I get from these the legendary films that they're trying to kind of copy. They're trying to take inspiration from the Tojo films. That's fine. It's just I think that there's a little bit more that they can learn. One element is the fact that you need to be able to see the kaiju. I didn't like how in a lot of the fights they would cut like, okay, they show Godzilla, and then they cut back, and then they show the kids and the family them watching, and then like it happened too sporadically. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I just want to focus on the monsters.
Yeah, I think the camera work definitely needed some, stabilize the camera, get some better shots out there. It really drove me crazy sometimes when it's like, zoom out, for God's sake, zoom out. Let me see the whole picture.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, they need more of, like, shots where it's just, like, the entire fight scene. Again, Toho films do really good job of doing that. The camera work that they do to show the fight a lot better. And another thing that really bothers me is in every single fight scene, there's like interruptions. For the criticism that the last film got about there not being enough fight scenes, at least from what I remember, when at the very end when Godzilla is fighting the two monsters, I forget their names, the Maoa or something. When he's fighting the two of them, it doesn't really cut back to the humans at all. It's just like 10 straight minutes of a fight scene, and that's more what I want.
Mm-hmm. I agree fully.
Toho films do that too. Just gotta, bring that back. It's like always reel it back to the original. That the original films have just like, okay, you had 2 hours of humans, last 10 minutes, all Godzilla.
Okay, it sounds like we all kind of liked it, and we all basically have the same opinion of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I will say this. What do you guys think about the future after? Because here's the thing. From what I understand, this film did pretty well. So what do you guys think about the future after Kong? Do you think there's going to be like a phase 2?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately.
I don't know. I think Toho is going to wait and see how Godzilla versus King, because the contract with Legendary and Warner Brothers is up. They're getting Shin Godzilla did a lot better than they thought it would do, so they're like weighing. Okay, do we jump while this is still relatively hot? Because Shin Godzilla, like I said, did a lot better than everybody thought it would do.
Yes.
Crap! It won the Japanese equivalent of the Academy Award. It made a buttload of money. They managed to make Godzilla scary again. Of course, They also made him. And I bought the weird changes when he, evolved, because that kind of made sense why the government just dismissed him and didn't throw everything at him at first. So that's why that worked for me. But, it's back to the movie we're discussing. But I think Toho was like trying to decide, because the contract is they can't put out a Godzilla movie the same year that Legendary does. So I could see them almost joining forces with resources, but I think a lot is going to depend on how well Godzilla versus King Kong does.
Yeah.
So I got some numbers here, James. Godzilla King of the Monsters was a budget of $170 million, and you could add another 100 for ads, and so that'd be like almost 300. And worldwide box office is 339. So it's not a flop, but I think they wanted more money out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it's breaking even.
Just about, but I mean, they definitely want more than break even,
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess that's going to be it for this podcast. Bye. All right, before this podcast ends, I want to give a thank you to my patrons. Right now, we have one patron, which is David from Spain, and I want to thank you for your financial support. All right, so that's going to be it for this podcast.
We now have a Patreon, and the link is in the description. Thanks for watching.
And we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, a little bit everywhere. Just look for us, 3D or 2D. And of course, review us on iTunes. And if you want to write us a letter, our email address is email3dortwo2d@gmail.com. So that's going to be it. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.